Nickloes. You probably haven't heard of me because I'm late in the race. I just got back from a deployment in the Middle East, so that's why I'm late in coming in. I run on faith, family, and service, and I've dedicated my life to the service of this nation, just as some of the other individuals in this room do. I'm a Lieutenant Colonel in the United States Air Force and Tennessee Air National Guard, so I get to fly combat missions over Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria, and that's what I just came back from. I recently got to introduce my boys to Mr. Matlock just a little bit ago, and I told my sons, I said, y'all, this is Mr. Matlock. I'm running with him for the U.S. House of Representatives, and I want to make that really clear. I am running for the people of the 2nd District. I am not running against anyone, okay? We're all here to try to make a difference. And I'm sorry if I'm not a really polished speaker because I am not a politician, and I have not been doing this. And my husband, I'll be honest, was against this whole idea, okay? He was like, what are you thinking? And I said, I don't know, babe, but I'm being called to do this. Because when I went with my daughter up to D.C. on a field trip back in November, we got to go to Capitol Hill. I completely geeked out. I thought, man, this is the best thing ever. We get to meet our representatives and our servants. Because as a representative, I would be your servant. I am your voice. People forget up there that they are public servants. And I am so tired of that. And when I was talking to the representatives, I realized how out of touch they truly were. We were on a continuing resolution at the time, waiting for a budget to be passed. There were 4 people on my team that I couldn't fill because we couldn't pass a budget. So full-time, in addition to flying airplanes, which is awesome, I also work for the National Guard Bureau. And for the National Guard Bureau, I help integrate civilian and military entities in a national response to a natural or man-made disaster. So I get to get the Army and Air National Guard, which our primary purpose is the homeland. That's what the Guard does. We protect the homeland. Since 9/11, we've been pulled into the contingency mission more and more. Thus why I've had 8 deployments. So I get to get the Army and Air National Guard to work with civilian entities because we all talk different. The Army and the Air talks different, right? So you guys know that we all in our different services talk a different language. But then you put us together with the civilians and we all definitely talk differently. So it's about saving the people here in the United States so that when I deploy and a natural disaster happens, I know that our fellow Guards members and our civilians can take care of my family while I'm gone. So that's what I do normally. That's also why I was working for the Joint Force Headquarters here in Tennessee during the hurricane disasters to Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, and also Hurricane Harvey. So I got to experience that. As far as Puerto Rico goes, I'll put this in to my conversation here. 51st state, I also am against it, okay? Looking at the infrastructure that's in place in Puerto Rico, it is not up to speed at all. And it is currently absolutely devastated. There are people still without power. And so for the past 60 years, Washington has opened up their checkbook and it has gone completely unchecked. So do we want to have another state grow even more government and more bureaucracy? In my opinion, I say no, okay? So as we go forward, getting back to meeting those representatives up in DC and how out of place they were, I just started getting more and more kind of angry, right? And the answer I got was, you know, the military is very well funded and our service members are the highest paid in the United States as far as professionals go. And my answer was, okay, wait a second. And I'm sure they thought, oh, mom with kid. I said, I'm part of the 1% who currently serves. I fly 1957 aircraft into combat, and we currently have enlisted people that live below the poverty level. That is unacceptable. That is completely unacceptable. And so on my previous deployments, I'd also been getting more and more angry. Because if you fly over northern Iraq and you look down and you know you're covering those guys and girls on the ground, and you're making sure that they're safe, you realize we have already died for this area several times, and now because of failed policy of politicians, we are back here dying again. And it is not okay. We are the last instrument of power when all else has failed, when all of our policy has failed, our economic policy has failed, and our politicians have failed. We get called in. And I'm tired of getting called in and not being allowed to do our job. If you're going to call us in, let us do our job and let's do it right. So with that anger kind of building up more and more in me, I decided before I deployed, 4 days before I left, I took my youngest son, Gentry, with me to Nashville to declare my candidacy and put my name officially on the ballot. So, my husband, before then, said, babe, God's got a plan. And I was against you, but God has opened all kinds of doors for us. So win or lose, you got a path to take, and we're going to do this together. So here we are. And I feel like since I got back that I'm not jumping headfirst into the deep end. I'm jumping headfirst into the shallow end because this is a different realm than I am used to. For 18 years, I get the mission and I go execute it. I don't have to worry about who's mad at who or who's working against who. It's just a matter of getting out there and do the job. That's what I want to take to Washington. I'm tired of how broken Washington is, how it's broken by career politicians, and we're not going to change anything until we stop sending career politicians up there. You will continue to get more of the same, and that is not okay. That's why we elected Trump, because Trump is up there to make a difference, and he doesn't care who he ticks off, right? He is doing all kinds of things to shake things up. And I think that is so awesome. He's not even there to get reelected, I don't think. He is there to make a difference. And if he gets reelected because the people of this nation decide that he's doing a good job, then he's all in. And I'm all for that.